Gee, Ibrahim, you can run your project and like show me what you made.
Okay, so I made a clone of a game called Minesweeper.
Mm-hmm.
So the objective of the game is to flag uh, the 10 cells that contain mines on this 100 cell board.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to flag a cell, we will right click it like so. And I don't actually have a mouse available right now, but we can remove the flag using a center click.
Okay.
So first I start the game by clicking. This is a left click that I use. So
Mm-hmm.
now this number 2 on the cell shows us that these 8 neighboring cells of this cell contain 2 mines.
Okay.
So let's actually find a cell that does not contain any mines in its neighboring cells. Like this one, it says 0. So now using this information, we can open up all of its neighboring cells. And like this, we can just keep on going until
Mm-hmm.
the end of the game. So we can open up all the neighbors of all these zeros since we know that none of them are mines.
Mm-hmm.
And then by using the process of elimination, we can basically flag all 10 mines and win the
Mm-hmm.
game. But
Okay.
if a mine is right left clicked, then the game will end. So I think that this is a mine
Okay.
right here. So the game will display all of the 10 mines. And now as you can see, I am currently right clicking, but it's not flagging. And
Mm-hmm.
if I left click, the cells are not removed. So basically the game ends.
Okay.
So this is my project.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'll display the code. Okay. So in the beginning, I've imported the random library to use further in the code. Then I've set up a window of size 500 by 500 and set a background color. Then I've globalized two images that I'm going to use in the code, which are the flag and the bomb image,
Mm-hmm.
and a space variable, which is the space or the length of each cell.
Okay.
Then I've created a list named mines in which the cell numbers for mines will be placed. Then I've used a for loop
Mm-hmm.
to randomize the location of 10 mines only. I have defined the space variable value to 50 and then I've used draw to write the rest of the code.
Mm-hmm.
In it, I've loaded both of these images, which I have globalized earlier in the code.
Okay.
Then I have used nested for loops to draw the grid for the
Mm-hmm.
game. Then I have used stroke weight, and lines to display the thickness, color, and positions of the lines in the grid. After which, I have used these variables to set the box number variables, which is actually, I've written it down over here in the comments as well. So I've used all of this to set the box number variables
Mm-hmm.
that are going to be stored in the list above. Like if a
Mm-hmm.
box number contains a mine, then that number will be stored in the mines list created earlier. Then I've used the left mouse button pressed command and then the code for it to reveal a cell, tell how many mines are in its neighboring cells, and if a bomb is placed in that cell, then it should display the bomb image as well as the rest of the 9 bombs and end the game. But down here next, I have used the mouse press right key uh, function to display the flag image when right click is used. Then this is the center click for the mouse to restore the original appearance of a cell. For example, if we reveal a cell and it shows the number of the cell as well, then by center clicking, we can also clear that number out as well as the flags. Then, of course, I've used this stroke width, fill, and square command to set the conditions of how the square is going to be created when the center click is used. Okay, and lastly, this is just an extra line. So you may have noticed that I didn't actually explain this section over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this actually is the code for the mines. So this is like if a mine is in the neighboring cells, then you will have to add one number to the number being displayed. And it's this if command and this if command is both of these are used to change the tens unit in the mines list for the yes. So I told you earlier that it's box number that I have stored in the mines list. So of course it's a 100 by 100 grid which I will display right here. So for example, if there is a mine in this cell, which is the 10th cell, then obviously it should not print uh, 9 in the mines cell because it usually starts with 0, right? So it shouldn't print 9 as box number. So to do that, solve that problem, we have used these if commands
Mm-hmm.
to add 1 to the next box, a 10 unit, and make the ones unit 0, which in this case, these are the 9 boxes, and then this will not be a 0 again, this will be 10, and this will be 20, 30, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my project. Thank you.
All right. Okay, pretty good. This is a little bit complex even for me. Um, if you can, I see that you've divided the whole place into whole screen into 100 boxes. Is that correct? Okay. What's the total? Um, so if the total width is uh, 502, um,
Yes.
what is the spacing of each line?
What is the spacing of each line?
Yes, like after how many pixels you are placing each line so that it would divide it equally.
Yeah. So you'll see over here, I've defined space variable 5,
Okay.
which 50 as 50, which
Mm-hmm.
is actually the space between two lines.
Mm-hmm.
So if
All
you
right.
do a little bit of maths, since it's a 100 by 100 grid, that means there are 10 boxes in one line.
Hmm.
So in order to have 10 boxes in one line, one of the axis is 500. So we divide 500 by 10, which means each line will have a width of 15 between.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So that is why
Uh,
the space variable is defined as 50.
okay. Still, I can see that the size of the whole window is 502 by 502. So why those like two extra pixels then?
Yeah, so when I did like 500 by 500, there was a error occurring that you'll see this outline right over here. Oh my God. Okay, so this outer outline, that is the dark green line on the
Hmm.
edges.
Hmm.
So the right side and the bottom of it was not showing.
Okay.
And since over here I've told it to do the line of thickness for 2 pixels, I have
Okay.
added another 2 pixels over here to
Hmm.
accommodate for those two lines that were missing in the grid.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And those, I think these nested loops over here, the I and J variables are being used to create these horizontal and vertical lines, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, all right. So I is the outer like loop, and that gets multiplied with how much space there needs to be, and that makes the x coordinate, um, along with like the y coordinate being absolutely zero. So these are all the vertical lines, and these make all the horizontal line because the x over here is completely zero. and the y keeps on getting multiplied by j. Okay, so that does make sense a lot now. Hmm. I still don't get like what is this p and q? How does this work? What is that?
Do you want to include this line as well?
Yes, all three of these lines because I think they have something to do with like finding the box number.
Let me just review this because I've gotten a bit rusty since the sessions.
Of course,
So
yeah, that's I can understand this is a very like extensive code and it must have taken some time. How much time did it take?
about 2 days.
About 2 days. All right. So before we get to P and Q, this is where the mines list are having something appended to it. Uh,
Yeah.
what are you like adding in the mines list over here?
Yeah. So over here you can see that I've randomized the number,
Hmm.
which means that random positions of mines are generated each time and they are not fixed positions. So we never know where the mines will generate.
Hmm.
Okay. So to since new numbers are always generated, I've set range 10,
Hmm.
and this append that you were asking is to add newly generated numbers to the mines list.
Okay. So I guess I had something else in my mind that maybe you're covering the entire boxes as a list, but you have only a mines list.
Yeah,
And you run the numbers through that if like any box that is chosen is a part of this mines list or not.
yeah.
All right. Okay. That clears up a lot of things. Yes, that's good. And images, that's pretty simple. Again, we've done this for I in range width plus space divided by space. Why is like this the range value for this particular loop? So it's
Okay.
running.
So yeah, so if you see over here in the grid, if
Hmm.
you count these lines, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. Okay, so as you'll see, it'll draw 11 lines. And if we take, calculate this, the width of the window is basically 500. Okay, approximately. So if we add space to that, it's 550. And then if we
Hmm.
divide it by space again, it's 11. And that tells the
Hmm.
code to draw 11 lines to the grid.
Okay, yeah. So because you had to have one line at the very beginning of the frame as well and one at the very end of the frame. Otherwise, it would have been 8 lines, maybe
No, 9.
nine lines. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that becomes clearer over there as well, and similarly in terms of the height as well. Hmm. Can you go to the part where we're checking how whether in any of the box, if the surrounding box has any like mine in it or not?
Yeah.
So this
So,
does seem like pretty complex. Like the box number. Let's say we've gotten the box number through wherever the mouse was clicked. The box number plus 10 in mines. Okay, so we're finding out the number that was, if this is the box number, then the box that would be like a plus 10 of this box would be right over here, maybe
yeah,
just below it. And then the box minus 10 would be over here. And
yeah.
what about this one? You did explain it, but I did not get like a full idea of it. So let's say that the box number here is 77. So how would that work? 77 remainder 10. That would be 7. It is not equal to 0.
So
And
it uh, so it said if box number is completely divisible by 10, okay, then we have to run these commands.
hmm, okay, only then
And now
we
this,
we will try to find out this block and this block and this block. If it is completely divisible by 10, only then we are trying to find out the box number, box 9 steps behind and 1 step further and 11 steps further. So I think that ensures that we would only check the boxes to its right if it is already not the rightmost column.
could you repeat that? I didn't hear you clearly.
Okay, so I was saying that if it is the rightmost column, we are not going
Yeah,
to find out whether there is a bomb on its right column as well. Because all three of these conditions, I think they are checking for this one and this one and this one.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, because the comment also says if not last column of the grid and if not the first column of the grid. Yeah, that calculation checks out. So how did you like get the idea of this project? Was this and is it exactly how the original Minesweeper worked, or is it something different?
It is a bit different
Mm-hmm.
because in the original Minesweeper, obviously, if I were to reveal a cell, like, okay, let me just show you the grid again.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I were to reveal or click on a cell at the beginning of a game, like
Mm-hmm.
this, so in my version, it only reveals this one cell. But in the
Mm-hmm.
original Minesweeper, it would just spread across the whole grid and it would reveal a portion of the grid for you to explore.
Mm.
Like,
Okay.
for example, if it, oh my gosh. Okay, so it would maybe show this much area for the grid
Mm.
and the remaining, now the area that it usually shows is a clear area, like there are no mines in it.
Mm.
So the rest of the mines you would have to figure out. And uh, in some of the cells that it does clear in the beginning of the game, some numbers are shown, and you don't actually have to click it, so that you can
Mm.
actually play the game and start running, and you don't have to start guessing which cell might be open, as in my
Mm.
version. Like you do have a 1 in 100 chance of, no, sorry, 1 in 10 chance of clicking on a mine on the
Mm-hmm.
first try. So that uh, area is um, different from my project.
Mm-hmm.
And another concept that is different over here is that when a cell is flagged, okay, so if I were to middle click that, the flag would be removed. But if a cell is revealed and I middle click a revealed cell, the number would go away as well, even if a flag is not placed.
Okay.
Now this would be able to be fixed in my code if
Mm.
there was a command in processing for a double click for the same mouse button. Like if
Okay.
mouse button pressed twice. Because in the original Minesweeper, if you double click, I think it's right click.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you double right click, the flag is placed and removed. So once you
Okay.
right click on a cell, the flag is there. But once you right click again, the flag is removed. So these are the differences
Okay. So,
in the original Minesweeper. So
uh,
as for the part where you asked how I got the idea, so this is actually really funny. Uh, the internet in the house was not working, and Minesweeper was the only offline game that I had on my phone. Okay, so I opened it and I was playing it and I won a round. So I was like, you know, I have fun in playing this game. So why don't I implement this in my STEM educated program project so
Mm-hmm.
I can share this joy with other people as well
Mm-hmm.
that I
Yeah,
get by playing.
yeah. It
And
is a wonderful project.
this is actually a really interesting game, and you might need a little bit of intellect to play it, but
Mm.
it's a fun game.
I actually want to play this. It would be good if you can maybe compress the whole folder in a zip file and then send it to me as well. Another thing that I would suggest is that maybe you can have your own GitHub profile and upload this project over there as a processing project. And I just recently found out that there is a subreddit about processing as well, where you can share your projects. People have shared some of the really good projects over there. So you should publish this because then it would be definitely joyful for others to play this as well. I also really want to play this. I didn't get a chance to play this at the graduation ceremony. So it would be nice if you can send me the whole thing, and you'll have to send me the project because only then the images would get loaded as well. And the images also have like uh, a nice touch in the whole project as well, the flag and the bomb, and the text is also represented in a really nice manner. So that whole part is like really amazing, and you've done some really good coding over here.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's about it. And if you like find something more to be added over here, or if is there any other project in your mind, something to like do next?
Huh. Okay, so I did think for a while about creating a clone of Ludo,
Hmm.
but then I had trouble in in thinking about how to randomize the dice rolls and how to
Hmm.
actually make it fair for
Okay.
everyone.
Okay.
Because most of the games are like rigged
Hmm.
because uh, the ones that are on the Play Store, they like one person gets good rolls and the other one doesn't. So it isn't actually randomized. So I
Okay.
wanted to make a game, but then I couldn't figure out the working of the die. So
Hmm.
that's why.
Okay, the next thing that you
So
try,
I'll
I think you should try it in some other like game engines like maybe Unity so that you can create some really good visuals around it as well. You have figured out the coding part really well. You should figure out how to create a 2D or a 3D environment in those games, and that would like really add some value to your game development skill. So you should explore that even if you're
yeah,
working on a Ludo project, you should do it over
yeah, I will do some research and I'll definitely build the or write the code for the Ludo in
there.
a few months
Mm,
after understanding the program more thoroughly.
mm.
So yeah,
Okay.
I'll also
So
send this project to you on Google Chat if you want
yes, that
in a
that
zip
would be
file.
good. Yeah. Do you have my email?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right. So just get connected with me on Google Chat, and if you're working on something and you need help over there as well, so I can also you can also ask me questions over there. And another one of your like classmates, they made Suleiman made the Pong game, and like somebody else made the Connect Four game. So those were also some really good projects. So you should also talk to those, like how are they working, and maybe like take a look at their videos. Something to do next.
Yeah, I actually thought of making the Connect 4 for a while, but then I decided it's too famous and common. So how about I go for something that isn't really that
Hmm.
common, like
Yeah.
Minesweeper. Like some people know this game who were playing it back when Atari was in,
Hmm.
because this was an Atari game in the beginning.
Hmm.
So and then Google adapted it, and that's how it spread.
Okay.
So
Were you able to get some
not
help
many
from
people
somewhere?
know.
Were you able to
Yeah.
find some relevant material from YouTube or any place else for like working on this project, or uh, how did you? Were you able to get any help?
Yeah, my father actually helped me a bit with the this code, which is of course the one in where the last and first column of the grid is checked for the neighboring
Hmm.
cells. And I also got a bit of help in the grid because at first I didn't actually know how to make the grid. Because for
Okay.
the grid made in the tic-tac-toe project
Hmm.
in the section, we were actually taught to make all the lines individually. And I
Hmm.
thought, like, if I have to make all the lines individually, then what's the purpose of doing this in a separate, software?
Yeah.
Because if I have to do all the lines differently, there has to be some kind of code that I can do to do this all in 2 or 3 lines.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's got to be possible. Like if you can customize all the text with millions of variety because there's
Yeah.
RGB in this and there's like millions of color combinations.
Hmm.
And if you didn't know, the processing also has 5 to 6 fonts of text that you can use. So I was
Okay.
like, if there's variety in one sector, there should be more variety in other sectors as well. So I
Yes.
looked it up on YouTube and I thought, I look how to make a grid. So I got a little bit of help from YouTube as well. Of course, not the whole grid. I
Hmm.
used the height and width on my own, the variables, and basically the last 3 lines for the grid was by my own understanding. I just looked at how the main thing worked, and then I just closed YouTube and wrote it down myself by memory.
Okay.
So,
I I do understand your point that because these are like 11 times two, these are like 22 lines. For tic-tac-toe, there were only 4 lines, and we could have done that manually. That part would have been fine. But for this big of a grid, they should have been an automated process. So I do understand that part. And we can actually import some fonts as well. Just like you've imported some images into this, you can try to import some fonts as well. So there are libraries for that as well. You can take a look at the processing website further. Maybe try exploring some of the 3D projects. There is a
so I did explore it for a while, but this code right over here, starting from the left mouse button. We
Mhm.
actually started writing this after dinner on the last day. So by the time I actually reached center button, it was already 12:30. So I just thought that the normal font was fine and I didn't have to go into that much detail. So I
Hmm,
just did adjustment and I went to sleep.
yeah, the functional part that matters more in the beginning, and then we can like keep on adding things. So that can be done later
Yeah.
as well. Okay, so
But
Ibrahim, that was Ji.
I think that if I added the different font,
Hmm.
then the game would be kind of ruined because now that I look at it, I think that the normal font suits the aesthetic of the game more.
Yes, it does. It does matches the whole like retro vibe as well that it is giving from like the old times. So yeah, again, once again, like it's an amazing project, and thank you for sharing it. So that's where we'll end your presentation part.